Now that I have most of the interior ripped out of the car, I discovered this panel here is actually a secondary panel, and it goes like way under the car. And I can't see if this is spot welded up here, but this looks like a one-piece stamp panel. So I want to remove this panel before I get it off of the car because I don't really want it to move around. And I've been scraping around and it looks like it's actually part of the wheel tubs, and then maybe there's a secondary panel that it's hooked up to, but I can't really tell. So what I'm going to do is drill all the spot welds out of this. But I got to first scrape all the junk that's off of here and try and find where all the spot welds are. These aren't like modern cars where you can kind of predict where the spot welds are going to be because they're programmed and it's done by a robot. These are done by hand, so one car can be completely different than another car. But we'll dig in, we'll check this out, and see where we're at. Because even like here, you can see that this is, I don't know if you can see that this is gas welded up the side there. And like I was saying there, this is gas welded in there. You can see where it's been welded in. And then up here, you can see that this is stamped all the way along. So that comes back into that wheel tub. So what I might do is actually just cut these wheel tubs out, because I'm going to be widening these anyway. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do from there. Because I need to get this back panel out. Because the back seat that I'm going to be using for this has a seat pan that I'm going to be spot welding to the floor. So, yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is I found some spot welds here. Just verify that those are actually spot welds, which it looks like they are. I'm going to take the smaller wheel, kind of go along that edge and see if we can find any more. And like there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there's some undercoating there, it looks like. Now back in the day, what they used to do is they didn't have the polymers like we do now. So they actually had like a hopper with a gun that had a heater in it, and they would spray all this stuff on out of a spray gun, and it's basically just tar that they sprayed onto all this stuff. So it'll be different from side to side. And I mean, whatever, it is what it is. It was the 30s. It wasn't like modern times where they could spray it nice and accurately and get it in. And they used that up all the way up until the 70s. They kind of used this rubberized stuff, and in the 80s, 90s, they kind of started coming up with the polymers. Big chunky weld right there, and a bunch of spot welds. So this is going to be a bit of a challenge to remove, which is fine. We're always up for a challenge. We just need to make it happen. And make sure that I've got the vacuum on there ready so that I can get all these chunks of stuff out of here. Some of this paper stuff takes like forever to get it off because they coated it in tar as well when they put it on. So you can see, like, even with a screwdriver, I mean, I could be using a scraper, but you can see how tough that is to get off. Very time consuming, and that's where a lot of the time that goes into these is figuring out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But you want to make sure things are clean while you're working on them, and then if you have to weld on it, makes it a lot easier. a lot easier in the end to have something clean to work with. Thinking what I might do is, there's like a second skin in here. I'm wondering, I'll have to look. I'll bet you there's spot welds up in this piece here. Yeah, I'm thinking so, because I can feel that's where the second skin starts. So I might just cut it back into here all the way across and see where I'm at, because this kind of starts, we'll clean it up and we'll see where we're at. Alright, so I ended up taking some solvent to the floor because I was trying to use a grinder with the disc on it and it really wasn't making any progress. So you can see all the black dots that are on the floor. That's all the spot welds that I'm going to have to remove all the way along there. And then, if I can hold on to the camera, up, across, back, and then the other side is kind of the same thing. That side's a little rusty because there was a window that was open on this car, and I would assume probably for years and years. So I basically just used some gun wash for my paint gun to clean the floor up a little bit. I tried with the grinder and it just basically smeared it. So I took a rag and put it on the floor and just poured some gun wash over it, maybe about an ounce or so. And I went in for lunch. I came back out and it basically just wiped right off, and a lot of the residue I kind of just scraped and then finished up with some clean gun wash. So now I'm going to try and cut an 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch forward of where those spot welds are, get rid of that little bit of a ridge that's there. Like I said before, the seat that I have has a seat pan that's going to go in there. It's sort of a Dodge pickup, and with widening this car, I'm going to have to do that anyway, kind of to see where we're at, and I'm probably going to have to make a bigger trans tunnel because of the transmission and rear end combo that's going into this car. So, hey, that's it. Now it's time to lay all this stuff out and make some cuts. Okay, so I'm going to start off by cutting into the sides a little bit, try and get my corners, and I don't know if you can see this on camera, but I laid out a bunch of lines. Oh, you can see it there a little bit, just forward of where the spot welds are, and then I'll trim it up later and probably just nail it with some seam sealer. But a lot of this floor might be getting cut out anyway, like I said, so we'll have to see once we get the body back on the car and I've got the trans tunnel opened up, see what we can do. But we've got a while to go for that yet because I still need to make the chassis. So anyway, let's make this part happen, and we'll go on from there. I got this cut out with minimal carnage. I cut into here a little bit, but it was a little closer than what I expected. So now I got to drill out all the spot welds that are along in here, and there's only about 50 million of them. So I don't have a spot weld cutter. I've had a couple of them. I don't particularly like them that much. So what I do is I usually get a drill bit that's a little bigger than what the spot weld is, and just try and drill it until most of the weld is gone, and then take a scraper and pound it through. So like here, there's like 3 spot welds in a row. So I'm just gonna try and see if I can do those 3 spot welds, knock it out, and then see what happens. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Oh well. And that wasn't supposed to happen either. Whoa! Well, then they drilled it through anyway. Whatever. We just have some holes to fill. Easy as that. Alright, so you can see that we've got the floor laid out here in the Pontiac, and part of this is because I want to make some more room under the back seat. That hump in the middle is very high all the way across, and the axle sits just behind where that dished part is. So if you look at where I've laid it out, I rounded the corners off. Now when you're welding a new piece in, it's always much easier that when you've got a rounded corner to weld into a rounded corner. If you have a square corner like you can see on the left side where I've left it, it'll end up buckling a little bit, and I know this is just a floor and it's going to get covered up, but I always try to do as good a work as I can and practice that at all times. Alright, so we're going to start off. We've got our lines. We're going to cut our hardest down to our easiest and finish our corners off with the air-powered recip saw.